You are standing in a grocery store. Around you, 10,000 products compete for your attention. Bright packaging, bold promises, entire aisles dedicated to things that did not exist as food 100 years ago. And somewhere in the middle of all of it, you reach for the thing you always reach for. The sweet thing, the salty thing, the crunchy thing that you told yourself you would not buy this time. You probably blame yourself for this. You probably call it weakness or lack of willpower or a bad relationship with food. But the real reason you keep reaching is far older than any grocery store, far older than any food system, far older than the concept of a diet. Your body is not failing you. It is following instructions that were written hundreds of thousands of years ago, and those instructions made perfect sense for the world they were written for. The problem is that world no longer exists. To understand what ancient humans actually ate, you first have to understand what their life actually looked like. Not the cleaned-up version, not the romantic version where noble hunter-gatherers lived in harmony with the land. The real version. Your ancestors, for most of human evolutionary history, were never sure where their next meal was coming from. This is the single most important fact about ancient human nutrition that modern diet culture consistently ignores. It was not just about what they ate, it was about the constant uncertainty of whether they would eat at all. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham at Harvard University has spent decades studying the relationship between human evolution and food. His research makes one thing clear: the human body was shaped not by abundance but by scarcity. Your digestive system, your metabolism, your hunger signals, your cravings, all of it was calibrated for a world where food was hard to find, unpredictable in availability, and required enormous physical effort to obtain. Your body is a survival machine built for famine, and you are trying to run it in a world of permanent feast. So what did they actually eat? The answer is everything they could find, and the range was far wider than most people imagine. Early Homo sapiens were opportunistic omnivores. This means they ate whatever was available in whatever environment they happened to occupy. And for most of the roughly 300,000 years of anatomically modern human existence, that environment changed constantly. Your ancestors moved. They followed food sources across seasons, across landscapes, across entire continents. In coastal regions, they ate shellfish, fish, sea mammals, and seaweed. Researchers studying shell middens, the ancient refuse piles left by coastal populations, have found evidence of sophisticated seafood consumption going back at least 165,000 years in South Africa. This matters because seafood, particularly fatty fish rich in omega-3 fatty acids and iodine, is now understood to be one of the key nutritional drivers of human brain expansion. Your brain may literally be the size it is because your ancestors ate fish. In forested regions, they ate roots, tubers, leaves, fruits, nuts, seeds, insects, larvae, birds, eggs, and whatever animals they could hunt or scavenge. The tuber, the underground storage organ of wild plants, deserves special attention here. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham argues that cooking, specifically the cooking of starchy tubers over fire, was not just a cultural development but a biological turning point. Cooked starch releases far more calories than raw starch. The introduction of cooking allowed the human gut to shrink while the brain grew, because the body no longer needed to spend enormous energy digesting raw fibrous plant material. Fire did not just keep your ancestors warm, it built your brain. In open savanna environments, they hunted large game, but here the popular image needs correcting. The image of the lone heroic hunter bringing down a mammoth is largely a myth projected backward onto prehistory by cultures that valued male hunting as an identity. The archaeological and anthropological evidence tells a more complex story. Hunting large animals was high risk, low reliability. A missed hunt meant nothing to eat, and large animals did not simply stand still and wait to be taken down by people with stone-tipped spears. Scavenging was at least as important as hunting for much of early human history. Your ancestors followed predators. They watched the skies for vultures. They rushed to carcasses before the bones were picked clean and used stone tools to access the marrow, the fat-dense interior of large bones that other scavengers could not reach. Bone marrow is extraordinarily calorie-dense. It is rich in fat-soluble vitamins, in the kinds of dense nutrition that a large-brained primate needs to survive. Some researchers now believe that early humans were, for a significant portion of prehistory, primarily scavengers with opportunistic hunting as a supplement, not the other way around. Your ancestors were not the apex predators of ancient myth. They were intelligent, flexible, creative opportunists who ate whatever the environment offered and developed remarkable cognitive and social tools to extract nutrition from sources other animals could not. And across all of these environments, across all of these diets, certain nutritional patterns were consistent. Wild food is not like domesticated food. Wild meat is leaner than farmed meat and higher in omega-3 fatty acids because wild animals are physically active and eat varied diets. Wild plants contain more fiber, more polyphenols, more micronutrients, and dramatically less sugar than their modern cultivated counterparts. A wild strawberry contains a fraction of the sugar of a grocery store strawberry. A wild tuber is fibrous, dense, and requires significant chewing, nothing like the white potato on your plate. The ancestral diet was not low-carb or high-protein or any of the categories modern nutrition uses. It was varied, seasonal, regionally specific, and almost entirely whole foods in the truest sense. Things that had not been processed, refined, concentrated, or engineered to override the brain's satiety signals. And here is where your cravings come from. In a world where sweet things were rare, where sugar existed only in seasonal fruit and occasional wild honey, a powerful craving for sweetness made perfect sense. Sweet meant ripe. Sweet meant safe. Sweet meant calories your body urgently needed. A human who felt overwhelming desire for sweet food whenever it appeared would eat it immediately, store those calories as fat, and have a survival advantage over a human who could easily take or leave the fruit. That human is you. In a world where fat was difficult to obtain, where a source of concentrated calories might not appear again for days, an overwhelming desire for fatty food made perfect sense. Fat meant energy density. Fat meant survival buffer. The human who could not resist the marrow, who craved the fatty piece of meat, who sought out nuts and seeds and avocados, survived the lean season when others didn't. That human is also you. Salt was so rare in many ancestral environments that the human body evolved a specific and powerful craving for it. Your kidneys are extraordinarily efficient at retaining sodium because for most of human history, losing sodium through sweat without being able to replace it could be fatal. The craving for salt is not a weakness. It is a monument to how rare salt once was. Neuroscientist Kent Berridge at the University of Michigan has spent decades studying the brain systems underlying craving and wanting. His research distinguishes between two separate systems: liking and wanting. Liking is the pleasure you feel when you eat something. Wanting is the drive that pulls you toward it before you even start. And wanting, Berridge found, is driven by the dopamine system, the same ancient reward circuitry that underlies all motivated behavior. Your dopamine system was calibrated for a world of scarcity. It was designed to make you want food intensely when food was available, because in the ancestral environment, available food was a temporary and unpredictable gift. The food industry discovered this accidentally and then exploited it deliberately. Ultra-processed foods, chips, cookies, fast food, sweetened drinks, are not just tasty. They are engineered to hit the dopamine system with a combination of sugar, fat, and salt that does not exist in nature. No food in the natural world delivers that precise combination in those concentrations. Your ancestral brain has no defense against it. It was never built one because the threat never existed. You are not addicted to junk food because you are weak. You are addicted because you are human. Because your brain is running ancient software in a world that was engineered to exploit every vulnerability that software contains. The ancestral diet that your body was built for no longer exists in the form it once did. The wild game is farmed. The seasonal fruit is available year-round and bred for maximum sweetness. The rare honey is now refined sugar, available in unlimited quantities for almost nothing. The difficult-to-obtain fat is now cheap and concentrated and present in almost everything. Everything your ancestors had to work for, suffer for, sometimes die for, is now a few steps away in a fluorescent-lit room. And your body, the body that was built by 300,000 years of scarcity, does not know what to do with that. It does what it was always built to do. It wants, it craves, it reaches. You are standing in a grocery store. Around you, 10,000 products engineer the exact craving your ancestors used to survive. And the part of your brain that is reaching, the ancient, hungry, desperate part that cannot understand why it should ever stop, is not broken. It is the most human thing about you.